everybody. Scott Sachs, if you're watching, look, I have a torso-ish area, not just my face. Yeah, so welcome. I am Maud Betty. This is episode 35 of Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. I see one person who's watching, which is totally fine. I'm thinking Retro Road Husband might put a comment in the comment section so that I can make sure that I can see the comments before he goes to the grocery store. There we go. Top fan. Top fan. Donna, nice to see you. Oh, hey, Debbie, nice to see you too. Oh, and you're in PA, the humidity capital of the planet, it feels like, huh? I had the AC on in the house earlier while I was doing my research, and it was one of these things where I came outside, I'm like, oh, it's so nice and whatever. And now I'm kind of a little schwitzy. But anyhow, nice to see everybody. Welcome. Welcome to episode 35. Holy free holies, people. Since March 17th, Maud Betty, moi, has been showing up at least weekly. I started twice a week. And I have been sharing my favorite vintage and retro places from across the U.S. And when I talk about across the U.S., we are making progress, people. Like any kind of retro road trip, you start at one, or any trip in life. Hey, Jeff Cooper, raise a pint to Cliff and me, and we'll join you at your local pub sometime over in the UK. In any case, so I, being an East Coaster, I started on the East Coast. And I started up here in Maine, and we have been walking, actually driving, just driving our lives. Oh my God, you guys, I think, just saw me getting bitten by a mosquito. I have done a video for every state east of the Mississippi, and now we're well into the ones west of the Mississippi. I apologize if you can't hear me too well. The wind is blowing. Speaking of the map and wind blowing, let's save some prayers for the folks. Goddamn mosquitoes. Prayers to the people down here where Hurricane Laura is kind of wreaking havoc, okay? So good vibes out to that area of the country. And actually, so here's where we are. So I personally, right here, I am not in any of these states, just so you know. I remember somebody thinking I was going to all these states. Kind of like going to Carolina in my mind. I am there in my head, but in reality, I'm here in Pennsylvania, dreaming of and getting inspired and excited to travel once it is safe to go traveling. I will be going safe when it's traveling. I have a nice little roadie. Can you come say hello? Because he just brought out a fan.
Oh,
here you are.
hello everybody. Hello. Goodbye.
So, in any case, east of the Mississippi, all done. So if you want to catch up, there are videos on Retro Roadmap YouTube and Facebook. And now we're already west of the Mississippi. We've done Louisiana, blah, blah, blah. Now we're heading down here. We're going, today is Nebraska. Nebraska, people. And I've never been to Nebraska. I've just flown over it. But I will tell you, I have found so many neat places that I cannot wait to go to Nebraska, because I just love this. It's one of those things, and I talk a lot recently. My whole thing recently has been what I'm calling just drive your life. And let me clue you in, if anybody hasn't heard me talk about this. It's basically figure out the things in the world, in the planet, big and small, all in between. Figure out the things that light up your life, like Debbie Boone, and do the things. They can be as small as making a delicious little sandwich out of a tomato from your garden and have it taste so good, and you relish, well, you don't relish it, well, you do relish it, but you know, you eat it, nom nom nom, so good. Or it can be like, you know what, I want to change major things in my life. They're all little trips from where you are now to where you want to be, just like a road trip. And I'm telling you, I'm not kidding when I say you can get to those destinations the same way you can plan a road trip. So that's me talking about just drive your life. But the reason I bring that up when I'm doing this is what I do for my research and for all of Retro Roadmap is I create a Google map. This is a printed version. This is the old school version, but I wanted to give some visuals besides my big mug and my glasses of the state. And I find things that I think, oh, that's interesting, or oh, I think other people would be interested in that, or yeah, I am really excited about it. And I realized earlier today, I will show you this, I was doodling because I was realizing the kind of visual transformation from being just a pin on the map, and that's my little doodle of like the, you know, these little Google pins on the map. And then they kind of changed to when I put them on there and I was like, ooh, this place is excited. It's almost like they turn into a little exclamation point, right? So it's like, ooh, that's not just a place, but it's a place I'm wicked interested in. And then the more I read about some of them, they literally, figuratively, they change from just exclamation points to maybe like an exclamation point with a heart in it. Because here's the funny thing. So I started, thank you for the fan, Retro Road husband, but I started creating my notes for Nebraska, starting on this side for some reason, because there was a heavy hitter right here that I wanted to show you. And then I realized as I was kind of meandering to some of these places, they're really cool, but then I got here and I was like, holy mother of God, there's a whole bunch of pins right here. So kind of like life, start with the ones that are most important to you. North Platte, Jim Verdure. I have a few North Platte places on here. But what I really decided, and this will be kind of goofy for me, is that I wrote my notes in west to east, but I'm going to present them from east to west, because instead of doing all the little ditzy things and then getting to the end of my road trip and realizing I ran out of time for the ones that were really important, I'm going to start with the ones that are really important, and especially because so many of them are regionally kind of centered around some hubs. So when you go to one location, you can get a bunch of them. So even though I started way over there in the west, and I probably should have stapled my notes in the correct order going backwards, Scotts Bluff, very cool. I have some Scotts Bluff too thing. Brian Farr, I hear it is gloomy up in Massachusetts. So thank you for tuning into blustery yet sunny Pennsylvania. So Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, for those of us who are just getting to know Nebraska, here I get an idea. Look at me being so creative. Boom. Problem solved. Omaha's over here. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. If anybody remembers that, I do. Marlin Perkins. And that was on right before Disney. Wild World at Disney on Sunday nights when I was a kid. That's where that is. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, a font of my handwriting so people could actually read what I'm writing. Omaha, so many neat things in Omaha that I want to get right into it. So let's just get right into it, shall we? And again, I'm doing this backwards, so it's kind of goofy, but okay, here's a place called Caboose Park. So Caboose Park is actually part of the Game and Parks Commission, and it's some cabooses from railroad cars that they have renovated, and you can stay in them. The Nebraska Parks and Games Commission has a place, Caboose Park in Omaha, maybe just a little bit outside of the, the downtown area. So Caboose Park, if you want to stay in a little train car, maybe practice your hoboing. Oh, random aside, as there will be many in this episode, because there are always many randomnesses in how I do this, because it's live, and this is how my brain works. So for a number of these episodes, I've mentioned the word hobo, like, guys walking the tracks with their bindle stick and, singing on the road, I've been working on the railroad, all that stuff. Last night, I finally remembered to look up, and they don't know really why it's called hobos. They're called hobos. It could have been like, hey, boy, or, homeward bound. So it's kind of a mystery. But it started about 1890. People, hopping onto freight trains and going to where things are good. Yeah. This would be lip-synced. I can lip-sync, but there's a delay, you see. I'm a bad singer, but I'm a pretty good lip-syncer. Mark Eichelberger, I believe it's your birthday. Happy birthday, my friend. We need to raise a cocktail to you at some point in real life at a social distance. So Omaha, Nebraska. La Casa Pizzeria. I love this because it is in the Little Italy part of Omaha, which I didn't know they had, but I love the fact that many towns and cities across the U.S. have little Italies and little Irish sections and little sections of people that came from another country and wanted to bring the best of what they made them feel like home to that town. So there is a little Italy in Omaha. The La Casa Pizzeria opened up there in 1953. The reason I love this is they've got a great neon sign with Pepe. Pepe. He's the Italian guy, probably tossing the pizza. He's on the top of the place in, he was built in 1957. And also I found out, and this is another thing that's kind of fun too, is that like you think of foods, right? Pizza. To me that means one thing, to you it means another, and to the people in Omaha, Nebraska, they have an Omaha, Nebraska style pizza. So it is rectangular, and it's, I'm quoting this from somebody, the crust is rich and sort of flaky, kind of a butter biscuit-like concoction, giant rectangles cut into squares. So I just love that when you can go to a place and get the literal taste of what things taste like there, that means something to some people. Like I did not realize until I moved from New England down outside of New England that the pizza that I always love isn't even Italian pizza. Well, except for Pizzeria Regina, which I love. But that I grew up eating Greek-style pizza. To me, it was just pizza. But it's different things to different people. Here in Pennsylvania, we've got what I call Nipa-style pizza, Old Forge-style pizza, that you even order differently. Instead of getting a pizza or a pizza pie, and you get it in slices, here you get it, a tray of cuts. But I digressed. Oh, am I pronouncing Omaha wrong? Oh, well. Actually, so if anybody is playing Maud Betty Bingo, and it's like, oh, okay, here's where she mispronounces something. I don't know. I do my best. Broncos Burgers in Omaha. Now I'm all self-conscious. Broncos Burgers opened in Omaha in 1959. The one that's there in Omaha still now is from 1962. Awesome neon sign. So all of my sign friends and all my neon fans, go to Omaha, do that. Hashtag it on the Instagrams and the Facebooks so other people know about it. And then when we do that, we're also supporting the businesses. This is like the sneaky way of letting businesses know that because they have a really cool neon sign or they have embraced their vintage-ness, that people will come from miles to go there. If they stucco themselves over like a bad, what do you call that, the facelift, and they don't look like anything, people will just pass you by. But if you keep your look, and I feel like I'm paraphrasing some sort of Andy Warhol quote out there, but hold on tight. Now I'm doing, oh my gosh, now I'm quoting ELO. Focus. But if you keep true to yourself and be the best you can be, or maintain your neon sign or your vintage interior, people will appreciate that, the connection to history, how cool it looks, and they will appreciate you. So that's my thing. But I got a whole list of Omaha here, so I'm going to rattle off some of these because we have about an hour, and we have the whole state of Nebraska to cover. All right, Chops Bowling Alley. Talk about cool neon signs, right? That has got a glorious sign. I don't think it's neon, it may be backlit, but a really fabulous, wonderful font on that bowling alley. And here's the cool thing. So I'm working backwards. I'm working from east to west from the way that I did this. But the whole thing I want to tell you about bowling in Nebraska is because, so, I was going to bring out my little bowling pin. Everybody, remember people who have tuned in? Ooh, it's windy out. It's windy. Everyone knows it's windy. So when I was doing these Retro Roadmap Facebook Lives at the very beginning, I was in our living room because we were painting over my office, and then the living room just organically became like a nice little background, kind of like this becomes a nice background in the nice weather. I have a little Duckpin bowling pin. I use it as like decoration. I would say a bookend, but it falls over, so it doesn't really hold the books. And I love it. And so I was so excited to find out that in Potter, Nebraska, all the way over here, I just want to do a quick aside, even though we're over here. Don't follow me, I'm lost too. the furthest open duckpin bowling alley west of the Mississippi, and perhaps the last handset lanes in the country. They've been open since I think the 20s, and it's this little town, but they have embraced their duckpin bowling lane as a thing. And I just love that. Again, trying to intertwine that whole thing of figure out what makes you different and what makes you unusual and freaking run with it, people. I have decided that what makes me unique and different is the fact that I show up for 35 weeks in a row, sharing cool vintage places from around the country. I hope that what happens is I get all excited about these places, discovering them, because that's what I love to do. I love to discover. And then after the discovery, I don't want to keep it to myself. No, no, no. I want to share it with you, because if I have it, it's just me. But when I share it with you, then you have it. And then if we were like a little 1970s shampoo commercial, I'd tell 2 friends and you'd tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And the next thing you know, we're not voguing, but we're using Fabergé organic shampoo. And then so many more people know about the cool places. They know to stop there as opposed to a chain. And then they spend their money there, and then the place stays alive. That's my goal, people. Yeah, Scott Sachs, I totally know that thing about restaurants that don't have windows, because usually it's like a legs and eggs kind of place. But yes, I totally get the thing with the windows. Though sometimes, you know what's neat? Is sometimes now, because so many people take pictures for Yelp and like Google Plus, sometimes like you think it's a scary place because there's no windows, but then you see pictures on the inside, and what it is, it's almost like it's preserved in amber. So do not recommend any scary places. I want to share only the best. So I move on. So there's a cocktail lounge in Lincoln, Nebraska. No, wait, I'm on the wrong place. So yeah, because I started on the other side. Live TV, people. Okay, Broncos, Chops Bowling Alley, Johnny's Cafe. Johnny's Cafe is Omaha's original steakhouse, open since 1922, still family owned and operated. Old school charm. You're in like cow country out there, so get a steak there if you like it. If you like cocktails and I was calling it new old school, and then I actually saw on their website that this place called Fizzy's Fountain and Liquors, it's a little bit of a kitschy name, in Omaha. It used to be an old school place, but they have kind of renovated it, and you can get like boozy cocktails. Like what other kind of cocktails are there? Well, there are mocktails. Banquettes and booze, counter seating, and you order from the banquette. It's an old school thing that I think Wright's Dairy Right in Virginia has, where you sit at your table and you pick up a phone, an old timey phone thing, and you're like, hey, I'm at table 2 and I'd like to order a Manhattan or something. And then they're like, sure, coming up, and then you hang it up. And that just sounds like so much fun. So that's Fizzy's Fountain and Liquors in Omaha. You could stay. There were a couple of neat places to stay in Omaha, and I love people again who kind of know what Maud Betty brings to the table. And the things that I love are kind of like either charming, well-kept, very well-kept mom and pop motels, boutique motels. I realize is kind of the catchphrase, or hotels, places that are in historic buildings that people have loved up and kind of restored to their former grandeur. So a couple of places in Omaha. You've got the Hotel Deco, which may be temporarily closed right now because of the COVID, but that looks like a really neat place. The Magnolia Hotel in Omaha is also a neat little place to go. It's a grand 1920s building. Hotel Deco is a boutique hotel, so a couple of places to stay. So it's always good to, especially when there's a bunch of pins in your map, to find a place that you can stay, you can chill, drop your stuff. And John Barris, I am not kidding you, Omaha is totally on my bucket list, and you can tell because I'm getting so excited, and even I am recognizing that my Boston accent is coming out. So moving right along with Omaha, we talked about Chops, we talked about Johnny's. Johnny was my dad's name. Well, still is, but he's gone. So I always joke about how I pronounce Johnny. Oh, here's a neat place. So this is not vintage, right? But again, when Maud Betty creates a roadmap, just like you do, when you create the roadmap to the places you want to go in life, you pick the places that you like to go to, maybe like Sports Arena or like poker playing place or whatever you like that I doesn't do with me. But I love a good tiki bar. And I love a good tiki bar because one good cocktail and you're good. But also I will say this, people in the tiki community tend to be very friendly, very nice. I have met more wonderful people through the tiki community than I have in kind of all sorts of different things. So there's a place in Omaha called the La Calono Rum Club. It is an elaborately decorated tropical themed cocktail bar with weekend happy hours located in a basement. Looks really awesome. So I would be heading there for like my one cocktail of the night because I'm a lightweight at this point. The Orpheum Theater. So here's the thing. Okay, Orpheum Theater to me reminds me of Boston, reminds me of going to see bands when I was growing up, right? Orpheum was a chain. Last week, as if you remember, I started singing excerpts from Gypsy. Because of that, I will not do that today. But what I will tell you, it's so hard not to burst out into song and jazz hands. But there's an Orpheum Theater in Omaha. 1927 historic theater. Now they do live venues, events. So Orpheum Theater, look up who's on the marquee and maybe make it a thing where you're like, you know what? Why don't we fly to Omaha or drive there and go see this band we love there, and then we stay over and then we spend our money locally in Omaha and we tell them how much we love it. So there's an Omaha theater to go there. Joslin Art Museum. There's an art museum there. Now, I don't often tell people to go to museums because sometimes, frankly, I like history that's alive. Like walking into a place that's still doing its thing. Once it's preserved in amber or behind glass, it's a little bit on the dead side. Pardon me, I got itchy nose. I hope that means money is coming to me. But the Joslin Art Museum is an Art Deco building commissioned in 1931 by Sarah Joslin in memory of her late husband. Again, I'm just realizing I'm probably mispronouncing her name, Sarah. I'm wicked sorry. 1938, it was celebrated as one of the 100 finest buildings in the country, and it's Nebraska's largest Art museum and one of the loveliest Art Deco buildings in the U.S. Now, I have a penchant for Art Deco. I love that. I love many different styles of architecture, so if you're a Deco head like I am, go there. And then also, I don't know if I have it in here. Oh, I think it might be in another page since I'm working backwards here, but that's a good place. Oh, here's a funny thing. A bit of a digression, so bear with me. We're making good time. I promise by the end of this road trip through all of Nebraska, I will ensure that we hit the heavy hitters. But I'm so good at doing my time that I'm going to digress. So there is a place in Omaha called, I'm going to mispronounce it, but they basically have a fork in the road, like a giant literal statue of a fork. And I think it's got spaghetti swirled around on it. And I love the fact that there's the metaphor of being at a fork in the road, and you can decide what time you want to go down, because I always encourage people to go down the one that means something to them. But when they are also a kitschy roadside thing that you can pose next to, well, that's just the best. So there is one of those at Stile de Familias, family style. And the quick aside I will make, because I was talking about spaghetti, is that some of us may remember a gentleman named, and here's where the Boston comes out, Anthony Martignetti. Anthony Martignetti. He was a kid who was running through the the north end of Boston in a Prince Spaghetti commercial in like the 60s and 70s. Anthony! Because he knew that Wednesday was Prince Spaghetti Day. And that is such a thing that's like burned into my brain. Well, sadly, we found out that Anthony passed away on Tuesday. He was about in his early 60s, so it's really sad because that is not old, people. That is not old. So it's a bummer that he passed away. So I will eat some virtual spaghetti in his honor. But the neat thing is I also found out that my friend Chris Pethrick, her dad actually was instrumental in creating that whole ad campaign. So you never know, these things can like spark some random memories. So filling in your memories of what you remembered and connecting up with people about even the commercials you remember is such a cool, fun thing. But you can go winding back on that spaghetti. I often talk about like your thoughts being like spaghetti in your head, and it's all kind of grumbly, and you can kind of see that, all the strubly spaghetti in my head. But you can get your picture taken next to a big fork in Omaha. Anthony! So now we're going to go back. Oh, this was an interesting thing too. So this isn't necessarily in Omaha. Sorry, I was looking at my map. But it's slightly outside of this. And I just had to throw this in here because it's so wacky. And for those of you who do this, what the kids call urban exploration, you know, when you sneak into old buildings and take pictures, kind of like I used to do back in the day before it was a thing, just saying. There is a place in Bellevue, Nebraska called John's Grecian Delight. And the reason I am mentioning that is because it is in the basement of a mall that is almost practically deserted. So you can still go into the mall even though it's closed. So to me, it's like urban exploration. It's like the vintage for the kids, for people who are into, like, remember mall culture, you know, like mall rats and all that and Fast Times. If you want to go kind of poke around in an old mall that's kind of fallen in hard times, you can go to John's Grecian Delight and get yourself a gyro, get some Greek food in the basement of an abandoned mall outside of Omaha, Nebraska. I think that sounds like a hella good time. Just saying. Also, somewhat near, now we're moving on to Lincoln. Land of Lincoln. Lincoln right here. So a couple things about Lincoln. Lincoln, Lincoln, I've been thinking. Anybody know that one? My mom used to say that. Couple of cool things right outside. So John Barris, remember you were talking about going to Omaha? Put this, I'm planting a seed for years in the future because this is my plan. Outside of Lincoln, Nebraska is a town called Seward, S-E-W-A-R-D, and the world's largest time capsule is there. It is under a concrete pyramid, right? And it was built in 1975 by some guy who wanted his legacy to live on, and they are going to open it up. It is scheduled to be opened in 2025, which is only 5 years from now. This is the world's largest pyramid. It's got like a polyester leisure suit in it, a brand new, and this is when my friend Craig Fitzgerald, who writes about cars, I think he might be interested in this. A brand new Chevy Vega car was buried in this, you know, pyramid-shaped, largest time capsule right outside of Lincoln and Omaha. So I am like, Retro Road Mappers, let's meet up, okay? I will, 5 years from now, be like, dudes, we're all going. Let's meet it there and see what the deal is, okay? So that is right outside of there. And then Lincoln also has a whole bunch of cool places. I'm going to rattle off some of them because they kind of speak for themselves. Like, for example, this is the one I was going to say. So remember I was talking about the Art Deco place, the museum in Omaha. So there's another wonderful Art Deco building, the Nebraska State Capitol. It was entirely constructed of Indiana limestone between 1922 and 1932, and you can take tours of it. So if you are architecturally inclined, that's a really cool place to go. There's also, and as I said to myself when I wrote this, kind of speaks for itself, the National Museum of Roller Skating. I mean, National Museum of Roller Skating. Now that's the kind of museum I'm sending you to. Remember I sent you to the Spam Museum a while back? Yeah, Spam, roller skating, duckpin bowling, all the funs. There's also a Museum of American Speed, which is a car museum. And I do occasionally send you to those because I do like myself the look of the vintage car. Kind of funny, like I'm looking out in our driveway now and I'm looking at our Honda, Johnny. See? That's when it comes back. And it's kind of, I love it. Harv, don't get me wrong. I love you. You're so reliable. Kind of boring looking. Like, I don't think there are going to be car museums from cars, any of the cars, in the 21st century. Because I can't even find my own car in a parking lot because they're all just kind of the same. They're all kind of gray. Now, I do like having a little bit of a secret car because then you can go everywhere. You can go into good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, and nobody knows. If you have a showy car, people pay attention to you. I like to sneak around in my boring mobile, but sometimes nothing brings me more joy than to see a really flashy vintage car flying down the road. That brings a smile to my face. So I do like sending people to auto museums. So the Museum of American Speed is in Lincoln, but the neat thing about that place is they have a whole pedal car collection. My God, it's so windy out again. Oh, it's so windy. Hope you can hear me over the wind. Uh-oh, I lost my torso. Sorry. See, that's what I get for being goofy. Maybe I'll just stand up, sit up taller. There I am. I'm sitting up taller, using my core. I did not realize that was the tallest state capital, Terry. Thank you. I love that too. And I will say this. I often say, and I will say it now, if you have any places in Nebraska that you know of, that you want other people, including myself, to know of, please put them in the comments. Because I am picking out the ones that I think are neat. But I also love the hive mind. I love it when people connect. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. I don't do it to hear myself talk. In fact, I think my voice is kind of funny, all high and whiny, as George Costanza would say. But I love it when other people get to recognize people's names in the comments. You help that person helps you, and we're all connected, and it makes things so much better. So, Lincoln, Nebraska. If you have any Nebraska tips, put them in there, and I thank you. Oh, interesting. That's so cool. I had no idea. So Lincoln, Nebraska, here's the thing. Music fans. Matthew Sweet is from Lincoln, and I read, at least from last year, he might be living in Omaha. Omaha. That's how it sounds when I say it. So I had no idea that the power pop god that we all loved so much back in the day, and still do, lived in Omaha. Maybe we'll visit him in 5 years. Okay, Lincoln. Oh, so I was thinking about this. There's a place called the Rococo. That's how I will pronounce it. The Rococo Theater, Lincoln, Nebraska. Opened in 1929. And I'm wondering if maybe Matthew Sweet played there at some point. Historic theater. I just think that's kind of neat. The Graduate Hotel. Oh, see? Let's go stalking Matthew Sweet, shall we? That's me. That's like 1990s Maud Betty talking. I don't need to stalk Matthew Sweet because I have a really adorable musician husband of my own now, so I'm all set. But we'll invite him. Matthew Sweet, you're formally invited to attend the opening of the pyramid-shaped largest time capsule in the world when retro road mappers descend upon Omaha and Lincoln in 2025. So there's that. Lincoln, the Graduate Hotel. Now here's a neat thing. It's windy. So the Graduate is a little bit of a chainy type thing, but here's the deal. They're kind of fun looking. Now, I've never stayed in one. Graduate Hotel, if you want me to stay and write a glowing review, just get in touch with my people. But it's kind of a fun looking place. What did I write about it? I said chain, fun, funky. It's a bit of that kind of dormification, very casual kid, college kiddie type thing, but so much better in my mind, and this is me, so much better than like fancy and stuffy and beige. So this place has a giant picture of Johnny Carson posted behind the check-in counter. I often say, I did not know that, like the great Karnak did. So yes, Graduate Hotel, look them up. Maybe I will partner with them at some point. Hint, hint. Okay, speaking of places that embrace their theirs, this is a thing I love. I had 2 of these. Oh yes, I put them right in order. How convenient. Wilbur, Nebraska. At the Hotel Wilbur, an old school hotel there, they celebrate a thing called Czech Fest. Now, it's CZECH, like Czechoslovakia, right? And I love this. Remember the Great American Melting Pot? all of us, except if we are Native Americans, we came here from someplace else. And if it wasn't us, pardon me, if it wasn't us directly, it was our relatives. None of us are from here originally, and again, unless you were born here back in the day, okay? So we're all from someplace else, so why not? What is wrong with celebrating the best of what we have that brings us together when you want to share your culture? And so they have a Czechoslovakia Fest at the Hotel Wilbur. The other thing I thought that was the Hotel Wilbur in Wilbur, Nebraska. The other thing that I thought was really neat was this hotel. So it's one of those things, like, think about this, maybe if you've got an old motel or hotel near you that you want to revive, maybe people can get together and partner and this place has it where different families kind of sponsor a room. So it gets decorated really nice. There's maybe like a brass plaque or something. And I was thinking about this. This is totally what's in my head. But like the Lincoln Motor Court out here in Man's Choice. Beautiful place, but how fun would that be to be like, here, I'm donating some money to make sure this place remains, viable. And maybe I get to stay there for like free for like one day a year. But in the meantime, it's the Retro Roadmap sponsored room, and I help maintain the decor and different stuff like that. So think about those creative ways where people can get together and like support the businesses that they love in new and unusual ways, and that's what they do at the Hotel Wilbur. Another place in Nebraska that is celebrating its history, or I kind of forgot to look up why they're famous for this. I assume that Hastings, Nebraska is famous for Kool-Aid?
Oh yeah!
Oh my God, now I sound like Retro Road Husband doing his Gene Simmons impersonation. But they have a Kool-Aid contest or Kool-Aid festival in the summer in Hastings. And they have a Kool-Aid drinking contest. We're not even going there. But drink a lot of Kool-Aid. There's nothing laced in it, okay? Oh my God, just shut up. I shouldn't even talk about that. And they have a Kool-Aid, like they have like a run, like 5K. I can't even talk about running because I don't run or do the sports. But all I could picture when they said that they have all these like races, that I wonder if everybody has to get dressed up like the giant Kool-Aid pitcher who used to burst through the wall back there. So that is in Hastings. They don't have it going on now because of the COVID. And again, oh my God, it's windy. Oh yeah, you can probably hear the wind chimes. Yeah, that is, that's how you know it's windy. Except for me going like, ooh, it's windy. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, just the fact that I am talking about all of these places as if they are going right now. But please, because I could talk about a place that's open today and closed later today because we just don't know what's going on. Do your own research. Get inspired, get excited, take some notes here from some of these places. But when you decide to safely go and visit them, just make sure that they're still around. I just don't want you to be disappointed, okay? Because some of the pins I had on my map that I put on earlier this week when I went to do my double checking, some of them were permanently closed, and I was like, So do your thing. Don't be sad. Hastings actually has a couple of other places. This is a funny thing. There's a place called the Barrel Bar in Hastings that has a thing called the Stromer Sandwich. Again, getting the iconic foods in a place you are. There's that place over in Italy that I dream of so much in Cinque Terre that had the best pesto. I so want to go back there. And if I'm in Hastings, Nebraska, maybe I want to go to the Barrel Bar and get the Stromer Sandwich because it's a cheese char burger covered in chili, served open-faced with a slice of onion on a bun. It's like a chili cheese dog except with a hamburger. Why wouldn't you want to try that if you're in Hastings? If you try it and your tummy gets a little bit rumbly, as mine occasionally does, I would go to Burt's Pharmacy because Burt's is not a chain. It's an old school pharmacy in downtown Hastings, and it still has a classic neon Rexall sign in front of it. So if you need to go buy some stuff for your tums, Pepto, whatever helps you feel better, go to Burt's after you eat that crazy burger that I just sent you to. Moving right along, we're going to Grand Island. Grand Island, Nebraska. Not really an island. They've got a Coney Island lunchroom. Again, the classic place. It's been open since 1933. Coney Island hot dogs, which is those kind of hot dogs with the meat sauce on them. Again, I'm reaching for the Tums even as I talk about it. But I was so excited to see that place because those are kind of iconic across, and it shows the migration of these places across the U.S. Grand Island also has a wonderful vintage theater called the Grand Theater. It's got a funky looking bar called the Fill-In Station that it's got a bunch of cool neon signs and stuff hanging in there. So I love that. And a bit more on the mid-mod map version of what I do here is the Stur Museum, S-T-U-H-R, Museum in Prairie Pioneer Museum. Gosh, it's windy out. Is a Prairie Museum, but it's in a mid-century modern building on a round thing. Actually, that's kind of on an island. Maybe that's the island they were talking about. But it's in a mid-century modern building that looks kind of neat, and I love the idea of that, like the history of the old school stuff in a classic type of architecture that you're not finding anymore because people are tearing it down. So that is all in Grand Island, which is right about, whoa. Everything's blowing around, people. Grand Island is like right around here. So see, we started over here. We're barely over here. Oh, I've got a couple of places up here. We're going to move over here. So let me keep on cracking. I promised we get to all the places, and we will. Filling station, blah, blah, blah. Smallest city hall. Smallest city hall is up here. Maskell. Small city hall in America, Maskell, Nebraska. Also up here is a place called the Minoe Tavern. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's in Minoe. And it is the smallest incorporated town in the country. It's got like population 2. Up in that area too. I love this. Not a fancy historic theater by any means, but there's a place called the Lynn Theater in Lynch, Nebraska. It's in a Quonset hut. I love that. I love Quonset huts. I do. Quonset Point and all that. All right, working backwards here. Oh, Bassett. So Bassett looks like a really neat place. Right up here, there's a place called the Bassett Lodge and Range Cafe. Totally old school place to stay and eat. And it really looks like it hasn't been overdone much. Like, remember how I talked about the Fizzy place over in Omaha? It's kind of like a new version of the old school place, done well. This is like the old school place, just buffed up and totally charming. So you can stay there, and then you can eat in the little cafe, little counter stool action. So that's a place I would totally remember. Bassett Lodge and Range Cafe. Kearney has a classic car collection. So many things I'm getting going backwards here. Oh, here's a neat thing. Oh yes, I don't want to give short shrift. Kearney has got the World Theater and the classic car collection, 200 automobiles. So just drive your life. You can pick out which one you like and just say that's my fave. But Minden, where did I write it down? I think oh yeah, so there's Kearney. Minden is down here. Herald Warp's Pioneer Village. This place I found out about so randomly, and I love these connections because, okay, bear with me. There is a band that I fell in love with in the mid to late 90s called the Candy Butchers. They had a CD called Live at La Bonbonniere in New York. You couldn't even find La Bonbonniere back then because there was no internet. You couldn't even find it. I literally called up on information to try to find them, and they're like, we don't have a listing for that, right? Thank you, Brian, about the Phillips 66 gas station. I appreciate you filling me in on that. So Harold Warps. I found out about them because when I finally did find La Bonbonniere in New York City, we went there on my birthday. It's totally awesome, old school place. We ate, and next to where we were sitting was this inspirational quote. I wrote it down, and I took a picture of it, and it says, check this one out. This is like Instagram worthy. Put it in a fancy font, put a little background. It's surprising how much you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit. So that was attributed to this place called Harold Warp's Pioneer Village. And so when I got home, I Googled it and found out it was opened in 1953. And there is a building that has all sorts of covered wagons in it. It's got old school buildings that hold old school stuff. There's a carousel. So alert my fellow carousel lovers. There's a vintage carousel there. It's a Denzel. It's got some Philadelphia Toboggan Company things. And I just love how I found out about that, again, with that kind of musical connection. So that's Harold Warp Pioneer Village in Minden. On your way to there, you might want to stop in Arapahoe, because there's an old school place called Arapahoe Pharmacy, old school soda fountain and pharmacy. McCook has the Fox Theater and Max Drive-In, which looks really cool. Since 1943, hand-pattied, never frozen burgers, homemade onions and fries, drive-in car hop service. North Platte. Jim Verdure, you mentioned North Platte, so I want to give props. So here's the places. I wonder where you went, but this is what I recommend. The North Platte Community Playhouse was started as the Fox Theater, opened in 1921, and it's still, 1929, and it is still around in I'm getting so excited. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Husker Inn. Somebody recommended this cute little motel. Looked wicked clean, very well kept. So I'm giving you the info on the Husker Inn. Check it out. North Platte and North Platte. Kind of like I said, how Grand Island was not really an island. The Lincoln Highway Diner in North Platte, not really a diner. Well, kind of a diner in the classic restaurant sense, but not the building sense. But I recommend this to you because the Lincoln Highway Diner actually has a Lincoln Highway marker right outside of it. And the Lincoln Highway goes right through there. So if you're one of those people who, kind of like Brian right here, does whole Route 20 across the country, you can do Route 30 or, the Lincoln Highway across too. So that would be a place to go to. Alliance. Ooh, we're getting there. Alliance is a historic theater with a cool marquee. Biz Marquee. And, Alliance has, I forgot to even mention that. We haven't even gotten to this because there's only 2. Nebraska only has 2 drive-in movie theaters. Entire state. Kind of blows my mind. So big. The only thing I can think of is maybe because it's so spread out, maybe people spend so much time in their cars that they don't want to spend any more time in their cars and go to the drive-in. But there are 2 of them. One of them is the Sand Hills Drive-In in Alliance. And I forgot to write down what the other one is, but I'll let you know about that, I promise. Again, walking backwards, Scottsbluff. I apologize. Somebody's dad was from Scottsbluff. 2 places in Scottsbluff that I would recommend. Scotty's Drive-In. So this is neat because this is a little chain that I didn't even know was a chain, but I found out it was a chain because it's got different locations. So when I was doing the Idaho episode, have I done the Idaho? Oh, I'm so bad with my stuff. There's one in Idaho. There's one in South Dakota. There's one in North Dakota. I think it was when I was doing the North Dakotas and the South Dakotas. Idaho's where the potatoes are from. No, I haven't done Idaho yet. One of the reasons I do Retro Road Map is I'm pretty bad with the geography. But Scotty's Drive-In, small regional chain. Oh, this one opened in 1963, and it still has this really wonderful space-age looking sign with almost like these hovering UFOs and this wonderful kind of swoopy, almost like the Cocoon House, like a swoopy roof that you can, put your car under and park for car hop service. Now, I'm not sure if they have car hop service now because of the COVID, but totally adorable place. Scotty's in Scottsbluff. And then also looking kind of neat and in a mid-century modern and kind of just an asymmetrical way is the Midwest Theater. The Midwest Theater is also in Scottsbluff, built in 1946, and it's just, Google this, people, it's just so beautiful looking. It's got an asymmetrical tower, glazed tiles, murals on the inside, a wonderful neon marquee. They do films and live performances, and those are the kinds of places that, again, don't you love it? When you're like driving through a town or someplace and you see just something from back in the day that has been just, it's so beautiful, and you know that people cared about what they were doing and they made this beautiful thing as opposed to just having it boring and small. and you want to recommend places like that. So that's what I do. Oh, here comes the wind again. We're almost done. Oh, we are almost done, because check this out. So we went, and what else can I tell you? So we've been kind of started around here, and we went over here, and we went over here, and then we went up here, right? But again, don't follow me. This is not the route to take when you're driving. It might be inefficient, but you can do different trips, you know? Like I would totally go out to Bassett, spend a weekend in that cute little thing, maybe do some chilling. But now we're kind of trucking our way out here. That was Arapahoe. Now I get Adam Ant going through my head. But out here in Potter. Now this was where I started initially, and this is where I think, if you recall way back here earlier when we were talking about bowling, so Potter is where they have that Duckpin Bowling alley that I love so much. But the other thing that Potter is known for, which I had no idea would be invented, but it's a place where they invented the tin roof sundae. Now, does anybody, I feel like I'm at school, does anybody know what a tin roof sundae is? And I don't think it's a tin roof rusted, as the fabulous Kate Pearson of the fabulous B-52s would say in Love Shack. But what it is delicious. It is ice cream sundae. I'm just going to make sure they got it right, because, yep. Oh, chocolate ice cream with chocolate sauce. I like it with vanilla. Then a scoop of, okay, it does have vanilla ice cream. Then, so it's chocolate sauce, marshmallow, and then the whole thing that makes it tin roofy is that they put Spanish peanuts. You know, the peanuts that have like the little red skins and they're kind of salty. Mix that all up. That's a tin roof, and that was invented in Potter, Nebraska. Now, just to set you all off, to get all nice and hungry and raid the cabinets as soon as we're done with this, I have a couple of foods that I will share with you that are kind of regional treats from Nebraska. One of which I had no idea was, and I was literally yesterday talking about it. So if you saw my post today on Retro Roadmap about Mount Gretna, so I was there with some friends yesterday, and we were talking about sandwiches at lunch, and one of them was talking about a sandwich called the Rachel, and she was like, oh, and I said, oh, isn't that like a Reuben? And then I think of Rachel and Reuben sounds like Richie and Reuben, which is a Fountains of Wayne song. That's how my brain works, okay? Spaghetti. But anyhow, the Reuben sandwich was actually invented in Omaha, Nebraska. Me, I'm thinking it's like a New York thing, like a New York, Jewish deli, because it's that thing where it's got like the corned beef and sauerkraut. It's got corned beef and sauerkraut, Swiss cheese, rye bread. See, it's got a whole bunch of things, frankly, I don't like, so I don't really know about it, but it was invented in Omaha, Nebraska. Delight and inspire your friends when you do that. And watch out, because it's still really windy. Oh, I did not know there was a car engine alliance. Thank you, Terry. Awesome. I will add that to my list. But a couple more foods to just, and I mean, obviously you're in corn country, you're in beef country, you're in like big, like that kind of heart of America, cholesterol-laden deliciousness food, right? But, and speaking of carbohydrates and delicious and the cholesterol, a cheese Frenchie, deep fried grilled cheese sandwich, holla! I want one of those. And yeah, Indian tacos. Yeah, so Brian, I love those too. I want to say, where did I get mine? My first one, which was like a Navajo taco, I got it in Santa Fe. But what a cool combo. Yes, tacos on fried dough. Nom, 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 nom. And then the last food I will leave you with that's kind of a Nebraska thing is a runza. A runza. Now, R-U-N-Z-A S, runzas, is actually a name of a chain out there that they have quite a few locations, so I didn't want to mention them all, and I haven't been there, but they look like a place that it might be interesting to get like the fast food take on some of these things, because a runza, also known as a Bayerrock, I'm mispronouncing it, wicked sorry, is a yeast dough pastry pocket sandwich with savory filling. Yeah, you get me with the savory dough, with like the dough with the filling. Think about it. You got like pierogies. You've got empanadas. You've got, what are those things? Like, I was going to say Hot Pockets. Well, yeah, I guess Hot Pockets. You know, it's kind of like an ethnic Hot Pocket. Eastern European, possibly Russian, and it says this dish is common among the Volga German, not the Volga, don't be Volga, but the Volga, like the Volga boatmen in Germany. And again, I just love that. I love how there's these little sneaky ways that you realize that America is made up of all different kinds of people. You know, from the Greek people that were making the pizza that I grew up with, loving, to like the Volga Germans out in Nebraska that are making these nice little kind of delicious hot pocket things that you want to eat. And I totally want to get it. And so, yeah, so Charles, I apologize you missed me. I'm here. The funny thing is, I will totally admit, I forgot to make an invitation, which I'm usually yelling at Retro Road Husband because he does a thing on Sundays where he's always doing his Facebook Live. He does like a Facebook Live brunch. I totally forgot, but I figured you guys, I've been here for 35 episodes. I have shown up every Thursday since March 19th. I am continuing to show up every Thursday until December 31st. So even if I forget to do it, if you just show up here at 3 p.m., I have promised myself to you that I will show up and do these because I want to get through every state, you know? So like, as I said, we just did, and Charles, don't worry, you can actually watch it on kind of a rerun shortly after this. I'll share it to the page. So as I said, you know, we started over here, and this is how you get anywhere, people. You start, you take one step, then another, and all of a sudden it begins to add up, and you think, wow, I've made it halfway across the country. That's why I always picture any goal I want to achieve, just a little clue, as a cross-country road trip, because every step you take closer to your destination gets you closer to there, right? So now we're here in Nebraska, right? And then we still have all these other states, plus Alaska and Hawaii. I was really hoping we were going to be able to be in Hawaii when we did this episode, but damn you, COVID. But yeah, so I don't know what you're doing on New Year's Eve early. Maybe when you're getting ready to go out, hopefully then. I'm going to talk about California, but I will be here every Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to do about Thanksgiving. I don't know. Would you show up on Thanksgiving? Think about it. We got a few months. But anyhow, I want to thank everybody. Brian, I see you added some Nebraska places. Rock on, my friend. Thank you for adding those. Everybody, Brian is Historic Route 20. So if you love road tripping and you want to find out cool places on Route 20, follow him. There's also a neat guy that's doing like a whole road trip around the country in a Model A. Tebow Banks, I think his name is, or Banks. So regardless, thank you everybody for showing up. Late, early, it all matters. I love showing up when you guys are here. I hope you learned stuff about Nebraska, got yourself inspired to go find the places that mean something to you, and you make a plan to go there. Just dreaming is wonderful, but dreaming is the first step. Then you got to make a plan, and then you got to do the plan, okay? So I say that, frankly, I say that to me as much as I say it to you. So that's what I call just driving your life. Find those destinations, those life destinations, you know, losing some weight, getting your diploma, growing a tomato, changing your life. Those are all destinations. Find out the ones that are important to you that you want to get to before you die, and then show up a little step at a time until you get there. Just like a road trip, people. It's not that difficult. That's the cool thing. But I digress. Thank you for showing up. This is Maud Betty signing off, saying just drive your life.